13th as Law Enforcement Day. Such resolution signed by our 35th President, John F. Kennedy. And whereas in 2011, the officers of the Oregon City Police Department responded to over 25,000 calls for public safety services from citizens of Oregon City, and whereas the city of Oregon City is proud to honor its police officers who on a daily basis place their own safety and well-being in jeopardy, protecting our community, and whereas in America, a law enforcement officer is killed every 53 hours, making it the deadliest profession in our country, and whereas the City of Oregon City joins the rest of the nation in commemorating the memories of more than 19,000 deceased officers, including 171 from Oregon, who have given their lives in the performance of their duties of protecting our citizens, and whereas in remembrance of Officer George J. Hanlon of the Oregon City Police Department, who made the ultimate sacrifice on April 23rd, 1906, while fulfilling his duties to protect Oregon City. Now, therefore, I, Doug Neely, Mayor of Oregon City, hereby proclaim the week of May 13 through 19, 2012 as Law Enforcement Week, and also hereby proclaim May 15, 2012 as Law Enforcement Memorial Day. In witness thereof, I have hitherto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Oregon City to be affixed this second day of May 2012. We have a second proclamation. Historic Preservation Month, May 2012. Whereas historic preservation is an effective tool for managing growth and sustaining development, revitalizing neighborhoods, fostering local pride, and maintaining community character while enhancing livability. And whereas historic preservation is relevant for communities across the nation, both urban and rural, and for Americans all ages, all walks of life, all ethnic backgrounds, and whereas it is important to celebrate the role of history in our lives and the contributions made by dedicated individuals in helping to preserve the tangible aspects of heritage that shaped us as a people, and whereas Discover America's Hidden Gems is the theme for the National Preservation Month 2012, co-sponsored by the City of Oregon City and the National Trust of Historic Preservation. Now, therefore, I, Doug Neely, Mayor of Oregon City, do proclaim May 2012 as National Preservation Month and call upon the people of Oregon City to join their fellow citizens across the United States in recognizing and participating this special observance. The third thing on our agenda is the Ruth Powers Annual Historic Preservation Award. And Christine is going to go ahead and make this award presentation. I think it's a very exciting one.
I'd also like to introduce John McLaughlin, our Historic Review Board Chair, and we would like to present the 2012 Preservation Award to Judge Ron Tom for the excellent work he's been doing at the 1889 Judge Tom F. Ryan House.
I'd like to say that as a board we were unanimous in choosing Judge Ron Tom's house for the excellent job of preservation he's done. It's quite an attractive house, and it's actually a joy to drive by and just ask that you keep going around in circles.
I'll guarantee that. My wife has also said that you will finish the remodeling project, the restoration project, by this fall. Because I'm retiring at the end of the year. You need a new battery here. Can everyone hear me? I don't think I need this. Let me say this. I had the pleasure of growing up in Oregon City. And I grew up in a house built in 1875, which still exists at the corner of Holmes Lane and Lynn Avenue. And I was going to do that, and then I realized that I had 3 restoration projects going at the same time, so I had the good sense to sell that. And that was the person that bought it restored it. And so it's always a pleasure, and it makes me feel good to drive by and see it. When I was a kid growing up here, the house, this wonderful house here, was owned by a widow lady, Mrs. Fink, and she was a friend of my parents. And it was, she turned it into a boarding house. In fact, there were, I think, 7 rooms in there. Now, that was kind of interesting considering the fact that when this house was originally built, and I think you have an original shot of it.
No.
Oh, well, I have one. I should have brought it down. I have one taken when it was brand new. It had no indoor plumbing.
Oh.
But since the Oregon City is the first city in the United States to have electricity, because of the Willamette Falls, it did have water. So every room had one light fixture, and it did have a cold water sink in each one of the bedrooms. And that sufficed at that point. And then they put in an indoor plumbing bathroom in there at one point, and then they added a couple more later. So when I bought it, it had 3 bathrooms in the house. Which was kind of an amazing thing. But it still had the wiring for the 7 bells.
Mm-hmm.
I'm told it was legitimate orders. You don't want to start any rumors.
There may be
Being then, but not now.
I mean, I am in the legal profession, you understand. But it's been a pleasure, and I would like to also give my thanks. And Mike, would you stand up? This is Mike Borders. Mike is not only a good friend of mine, but he has been in the trades for most of his life. He now has his own construction company with his wife, Borders Construction, and he is an expert on restoring old houses because he's been, like me, I like to do this myself. And for those who have driven by or walked by during weekends, you'll see me in little different clothes.
Mm-hmm.
Fib overalls generally, and you may see me crawling up and down, and I try to be careful because at 75 years of age I don't bounce very well. But we have legal scaffolding which we secure on ocean standards. Not so much I'm worried about the complying with the law, but I am worried about bouncing. But I'd love to do that. All of the fancy work we did from scratch. None of that is purchased. And I have one photograph taken in 1892, and I've tried to the best of my ability to duplicate what's shown in the photograph.
Yeah.
So, and my wife, Susie, is responsible for the beautiful color, so I can't claim any of that. We went to Portland, and we walked streets in the northwest Portland for weeks and months, and looking at colors, and then we realized those colors seemed familiar, and we went down, and sure enough, just off of Washington Street, just across the bridge, is a house with the same colors we'd seen the previous year. Who knows? Thank you very much.
Judge Son, would you, I know where it is, but would you care to share the address or where the street is located so people could ride by it?
It's 715.
Oh, is it on there?
And to make it simple, the side of the house, which is unfinished yet, adjoins the senior citizens parking lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
And on the corner, to make it even more familiar, is the house, the maple tree that lights up the entire McLaughlin neighborhood every fall. It's orange and red. And if I had $1 for everyone had taken pictures of that house since I've owned it. I could have paid for the rest of the restoration.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Mayor Neely, I just have a few photos to share for the group to see the amazing work that's been done. This shows the front on the 5th Street elevation today. This shows the other part that sounds like will be happening soon, the addition.
If Susie has any.
This is what it will look like in 2002 when we did our McLaughlin survey form. And these are some photos provided by Judge Tom. So, very exciting.
Very exciting.
And I'd like to thank Judge Tom for, we get to see all the proposed new construction or big additions, but it's those kind of quiet, silent, passionate people that don't come in front of the board, and we want to make sure we recognize those people.
That's great.
And this is a great example of that.
Thank you. You're not going anywhere yet. I have received this letter from the McLaughlin Memorial Association, which I'd like to read. Dated May 1st, 2012. Mayor Doug Neely and City Commissioners, City of Oregon City, our address. Dear Mayor Neely and Commissioners, the Board of Trustees of the McLaughlin Memorial Association would like to commend and acknowledge Ms. Christina Robertson Gardner for her excellent work on the Oregon City 2011 Citywide Historic Building Survey. Christina led the project team and the work which resulted in an Oregon Heritage Excellence Award. The Oregon City Historic Building Survey work is an outstanding example of how historic resources and the Historic Building Survey are integrated into Oregon City's comprehensive planning efforts. We are pleased that the City of Oregon City has continued to put financial and staff resources towards keeping our inventory work current and supporting our historic resources. Thank you for your support of historic resources in our city and the work of dedicated staff, like Christina. Best regards, Roy Harding, McLaughlin Memorial Association. Roy is going to come up, I believe, and maybe say a few words, but as he's coming up, a lot of cities were involved in doing their inventory back in the 1970s, and I really want to compliment your efforts in making this not a one-time commitment, continuous commitment to identifying historic resources as history proceeds. I mean, we love our Victorian houses. They're getting more hard for me to take on the stairs in mine, but that's only part of our history. And as we advance on, we need to look at our other resources, and you've done a tremendous job. All of us are very pleased with the activities and the actions that you have taken. Thank you. Rolla?
Yes.
Good job.
I would like to extend our congratulations, perhaps even beyond the McLaughlin Memorial Association. Having been involved with this young lady in other projects such as the Ermatinger House, she has done a wonderful job in preservation work, as you have indicated, for all of Oregon City. And it was important for us to send out letter to recognize what she's accomplished. And we were there at the banquet, and the project was explained, and it was interesting because the person giving the award, who was the chairperson of the
Commission.
of the commission, mentioned that it wasn't really flashy, but the impact of it was really important. And that was an important point that she made. But again, on behalf of the Heritage community, I think I may be qualified to do that, being a past winner of the Powers Award. I would like to extend that congratulations. And there are a lot of things I know ahead that are challenges yet for us. And we thank her deeply for her help.
That's great. Thank you.
Well, I want to let the City Commission know that you get to officially adopt the survey and inventory this next 2 weeks, because last fall it was bumped for time reasons, and we just hadn't got around. We thought, hey, let's do it in May. So you'll get to get kind of a little bit of the full presentation in 2 weeks, and we can talk a little about it. And I'm really excited because it's going to be put into our GIS, which means it's not going to be on the shelf.
nice.
And
That's
consultants
awesome.
and
Oh, I love it.
citizens and everyone's going to be able to fully take advantage of it. So.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christine, for all your work. One more thing that we have on our list, in a sense, it's historic because I believe it was in the 1870s we had the railroad came into Oregon City. Is that about right, Rocky? Or?
I don't know, actually, on that one.
Yeah.
Were you there?
Were
No,
you there? But, of course, in our more recent history, we were able to get a Amtrak station in here and have 2 regular runs both directions into our city, and the ridership of that is increasing. And we were able to procure the historic, I think, it's almost original freight depot and convert that into our train station there. And the Urban Renewal Commission just went over there thinking about how that station is going to be used. I wanted to recognize National Train Day, which is May 12, 2012, as a time that we recognize the importance of trains. There's been a tremendous increase over the last 20 years in freight traffic on the rail system. It's I think more than quadrupled in that period of time. Heavy freight use. It's becoming more and more of a major transportation vehicle for freight. We are still in consideration for eventually having a rapid rail come down the Union Pacific line through Oregon City. And the train is extremely important both in our history and currently we hope to see continued activities and perhaps some industrial development that can actually, in the city, that can utilize the train service. So that recognition of May 12th is a very important day for us. With that, we'll go into our regular business. First is the time for citizen comments for items that are not currently on our agenda. And we have, I guess we're going to see Christina again. I have here Karen Murray and Christina Robertson Gardner on the list, so if you both want to come forward. They are on the list together. I don't know if they've got a joint act. Apparently they do have something joint.
They have
being
something
presented.
up their sleeve, huh?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Was it in the 1870s, McCarran? That the
80s.
Huh?
80s.
1880s.
I'm sorry, 1880s.
That's maybe off the top of my pony
was-
head. I could be
Karen
very
was
wrong
here.
right now. I missed it by a year. Okay. So would the dog or the pony like to go first?
Which is which?
So another project we're working on for Preservation Month is we're really trying to do more projects that collaborate with our other heritage groups. And what we'll be doing this year is a photo contest in cooperation with Clackamas County Historical Society. And I'll let Karen continue.
This arose out of the fact that we have the Eddy exhibit at the Museum of the Oregon Territory right now. One of the things that we noticed was that in the 30s and 40s, when Ralph Eddy was taking photographs of Oregon City, he had a unique perspective. Sometimes he took a slightly different angle, a little different look at things. And since the theme of National Preservation Month is discovering hidden gems, we decided to join between the Historic Review Board and the Clackamas County Historical Society. We are jointly sponsoring a photo contest. We're asking people of every age, and if your 2-year-old has a digital camera, they're in. They might get the best shot of anybody because they can get down low.
I think you're right.
There will be prizes in 3 categories: adults 19 and older, teen 11 to 18, youth 10 and under. First prize in each category. The winning photographs plus select photographs will be displayed at the Museum of the Oregon Territory July 21st and 22nd. We've also made arrangements with the Grapevine Gallery at Singer Hill Cafe to display the photographs in August. and I'm asking around and seeing if we can find other places to exhibit some of the entries. We're basically looking for people to take photographs of historic homes, buildings, and landscapes, but with a slightly different eye. And so I brought my props with me. The photo that we're using for the contest, show it to the whole audience here, was a shot of the bridge, but looking through. So you're really looking up the river, but you get an interesting perspective of the bridge. These, again, are all Eddie photographs. This one wasn't terribly unusual, but it gets a great range. It's from probably Kenema Park.
So we're looking down the river, not up the river.
We are
right?
looking down the river so that you capture Kenema and Oregon City in a single photo. My suspicion is that in the intervening 70-some-odd years, the trees have grown. But if you can see
might be
between the
right.
leaves. And then this is my absolute favorite.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Oh, yes.
no one can quite
Wow.
capture this picture. We changed the street lights, and
Yes.
yeah, we changed the elevator.
Yes.
But again, a different perspective. He stood
Very cool.
below the street light, shooting up so that the street light looks almost as tall as the elevator. So the contest rules are at on the city website and the Clackamas County Historical Society website at clackamashistory.org.
And we really encouraged you, take your family out, explore historic Oregon City, and take your best photographs, and let's see what we can get. And we're really excited, and trying to work with the schools, and trying to make this a 2 to 100. Let's all get out and kind of find new perspectives on Oregon City.
I love it. Thank you.
If some of you have not yet attended the Eddie, what's his name?
Ralph Eddy.
Ralph Eddy photo exhibit on the second floor of the Museum of the Oregon Territory. It's a well put together exhibit, and it includes some of the other historical items that are kind of interwoven into some of the photographs that are there. It's a tremendous job. If you haven't been there, it's a great display.
It's a great display.
And we can extend an additional thank you to the Oregon City Civic Improvement Trust for funding that exhibit. Also, I forgot to mention that Danielson's Hilltop Mall is providing the prize money.
So those of you who stay at Oregon City Motel, it's your
You helped do it.
tax money at work. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, we'll go on into the adoption of the agenda. Is there anything that somebody wants to withdraw from the consent agenda?
No.
The consent agenda is really items that are put forward that generally don't require debate. They're oftentimes housekeeping issues or information or minutes and so forth that we place there for those purposes. So if any citizen feels there's a reason to pull an item, we probably ought to confer with staff ahead of time as to the specific reasons it's done. And there have been certain situations in which we felt the need to pull them. Hearing none, then we'll go on with the rest of the agenda. Our first discussion item is Economic Development Strategy Update Approach and Consultant Introduction, and Mr. Underwood will be our presenter.
Thank you, Mayor and
And
Commissioners.
if you could introduce yourself also.
Terry Moore, Echo Northwest.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us here tonight. Just wanted to, actually, I'm pretty excited because we're getting ready to start updating our economic development strategy. It's something that we talked about in our retreat and has been identified as one of the City Commission's goals for this year. And so we're kicking off that process. Starting tonight, actually we've started a little bit before. We've contracted with Terry Moore and Echo Northwest, and we've been working together to develop a scope of work and how we're going to approach this update for the strategy. Tonight is really the big kickoff, and so we're going to go over that scope of work and hopefully get some of your feedback on that and review. We've left the scope relatively modest due to primarily two reasons. One is the budget that we have for this effort, and the other is that we have a pretty good economic development strategy in place already as far as the goals and the actions. There are just a few tweaks that we believe need to be made, some adjustments. The commission has some other ideas or has changed direction slightly, and so we're going to take some of those into account, some of those issues. Kind of the way we see this process unfolding is, we'll be working again with Echo Northwest. We're bringing this to you tonight to review the scope, take any feedback, go back and revise or tweak the scope if needed, but begin developing kind of a midterm draft of updates on how we're going to use this. It's actually going to be a separate document that would act kind of as an addendum to the existing strategy. So we'll come back to the commission with kind of a midterm assessment, get some additional feedback from the commission, go back, revise that, and then the third time we would be back to present the final draft for approval. So we're looking at probably about a 3 to 4 month process for this, just short and sweet and within our budget. So with that, I'll just turn it over to Terry. If he has any additional comments to that, he might be able to explain a little bit more detail for you.
Well, I don't have much more. Mayor, Commissioners, thank you for having me here. I was looking forward to this before I got here. I thought that I was walking into a standard city council meeting when we did the Pledge of Allegiance, but by the time we got the Blues walking in the door...
You knew we were different, didn't you?
I did. You folks know how to party. So,
Yes, we do.
in any case, I'm Terry Moore. My firm is Echo Northwest. We've been around for about 35 years. We do work in planning, economic development, and finance. We've probably worked on a few dozen economic development plans. We're working now with the Portland Business Alliance on some economic analysis for the greater Portland region, with Wilsonville on their economic development strategy, and with the city of Newport on their strategy. So we bring some background on that. This scope of work is very specific, as Eric pointed out, and it's really about updating your previous plan. Your old plan, 2006, a lot's been accomplished. It was a good plan to begin with. A lot's been accomplished, and the point that I understand from your goal statements is that you just want to get that updated a little bit. So that's really what we're aiming at. It's an assessment of what's happened so far and what you might be doing in the future. As Eric pointed out, we went back and forth on whether we were actually going to amend the main document, and that, in the end, I think the correct decision was that was a little bit cumbersome, a little bit odd to have a 2006 document written by a consulting firm that was standing on its own and then go in and start goofing around with it. So what we decided instead would be to let that document stand as it is, as the essentially the controlling document, and then let the document that we're going to do talk about what's happened since then, what's been accomplished, and then go and end with possibly some guidance on what's in the staff's work plan, what it's going to be working on, and whether that still makes sense. So we're looking at this as a short document that is directed. If we could get something as concise as this, I don't think we can, because there's got to be a little bit of background in it. But we want to end with something like your goal and priority document, which is here are the things that you need to be paying attention to over the next year or two. We'll be back to talk to you as we get through that to see if there's any adjustments to it, and then that document can be short and give staff direction, and then you can see if in a year or two you need to come back and actually really redo the document. But at this point, I think it's an effective way to make some progress on that and move forward.
Great.
Is that the end of the presentation then? I guess probably the thing that I mean, we've had some tremendous progress in certain areas of the city, and I'm very pleased with it. The one that concerns me a great deal is the fact we have area that identified in our Beaver Creek concept plan in terms of basically jobs area. It includes the residential area where the property owner there is looking for homes for home-based businesses and that kind of construction. And there's even during the period before our recession, there just seems to have been very little movement in there. We've had annexations rejected, but there are also properties that are within that zoning area that are already in the city. And to me, the proximity of the college and the high school and the possibility of having internships with developments that would occur in that area seem to be something that would be very attractive to us. And I guess it's one of the areas of my greatest concerns that we haven't seen any progress at all in that area. Anybody else have comments? Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're now going to general business. We've got a couple items here that were postponed, and I think they're not going to be postponed this time.
Public hearing first.
Oh, we do have a public hearing first. My apology. Resolution 1210. I jumped to adopting supplemental budget for fiscal year 2011-12. Mr. Wimmer, one of the coming through the door. Our finance director, who unfortunately we're going to lose within the next very few months, I guess. When are you planning to leave us?
59 days.
Who's counting?
Does that include weekends?
And that's
Oh, yeah.
and that's been 19 years. Is that correct?
18 and a half.
18 and a half years, and he's been a tremendous finance director. He was giving us warnings for several years about the city's precarious financial situation, and fortunately we were able to turn that around, partially with the close down of the Hilltop Urban Renewal District after it actually had tremendous increments developed in the projects that developed there, but also with our annexation of Fire District 1 and the Library District levy passing. We're in pretty good financial situation, and you contribute a great deal to that. And looking forward to this. I don't know if it's your last public report before the commission or not. But
No, we still got a couple budgets to adopt.
well, that's
in
true.
June,
That's true. Yeah.
and some other stuff next meeting. So, anyway, thank you. So, this is a public hearing, by the way. too.
Yes.
We have budget adjustments and we have supplemental budgets, and they, if you can't look at the numbers and tell which goes where, what you have to do, you have to get down in to see when you're adjusting a fund what percentage of the change it is. So you could have a $20,000 adjustment that requires a supplemental budget because it's 15% of the fund change, or you could have $1 million adjustment of a $100 million fund, and it wouldn't require the supplemental thing, which is just a little bit more formal. There was on the consent agenda, there's a bunch of transfers of appropriations which are below the 15% line, even though some of the numbers are bigger than what are here. But anyway, on this, the four items that we have on the supplemental budget are: one is a small $25,000 item, which was just for the police remodel the building, and then there was where are we at there? The others are things that happened that there was, like in the school excise tax, it came in quite a bit greater. That's just a pass-through that goes through us to the Oregon City Schools, so we're increasing that for $385,000 on the revenue and expenditure side. And same sort of thing happened in building operations for the electrical permits and the metro excise tax. The fourth item is something we mentioned at our budget committee a couple weeks ago. We're establishing the Ermatinger House Preservation Fund. So this establishes the fund. Actually, the general fund transfer, which is also $25,000, is back in the transfer appropriations. But this sets up and makes a place for the revenue to go into the Ermatinger House. And so those are just the four items on the supplemental budget.
this is a public hearing. I guess most of the public aren't visualizing what we can see on our document here, but I don't know if you wanted to talk specifically about the amounts quickly.
Well, the police reserve is $25,000, which is pretty small. The school excise tax is $385,000 increase in revenue and transfer to the school district. Electrical permit is increasing $100,000. The Metro excise is increasing $40,000, and the Ermitinger reserve house is $250,000 of revenue and expenditure. So,
Thank you.
welcome.
With that, I don't see anybody with comments, but does the commission have any questions about the adjustments? Could you talk a little bit about the excise tax transfer? It comes through us and then to the school district?
It's basically, it's a SDC for schools. It's where's Tony? I forget, they establish what the rate is.
Yeah,
right?
it's based on a square foot of addition or new construction for residential, commercial, industrial. And we collect during the building permit application process, and then it's a straight pass-through with a small administration fee to the school district. So we don't have any control on the rate that's charged. We're strictly collecting and passing the money through.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, thank you. Any questions from the commission? With that, we'll go on now to our general business, in which we had a couple items.
We need a vote, a motion.
Oh,
We need a
excuse me.
motion.
Yeah, can we get a motion on the amounts on the?
Okay, so we got to go here and go to. Who made it?
I got a motion from Kathy Roth to approve, I presume, and seconder is Carol Polly. Would everybody then vote? If I could get the vote piece up. Here we come. Oh, excuse me, I voted in Kathy Roth's place. What? No, I didn't. Never mind.
We had a problem with the system.
We can do that.
I'm going to vote for Rocky now. I love it. I love it.
And it's a unanimous vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
When it's not a unanimous vote, we'll actually, it's not a secret. This is supposed to be somehow better than our old method. I'm not sure quite how, but in any case, when it's not a unanimous vote, we will actually list off how the individuals on the commission voted. And voted in favor and opposed, yes. And abstained. You're trying to tell me it's unanimous vote in favor. Excuse me, it was unanimous vote in favor. Go ahead. And with that, we'll go into our general business, and some heritage tree nominations were brought forward by the property owners themselves and went through, I believe, the Natural Resource Committee. Is that the process?
Evening, Mayor and Commissioners. So tonight we have our first Heritage Tree nomination. We actually have two of them tonight, but the first one we're going to be processing tonight is for the Ainsworth House. So the property owner submitted a Heritage Tree nomination request for a 62-inch diameter, over 150-foot tall ponderosa pine with a canopy spread of approximately 75 feet, which is on the dais or on the screen for you to see right now. The tree is located at the Ainsworth House and Garden, which was built in 1851 and was first inhabited by Captain John Ainsworth and is listed on the National Register. The tree is of magnificent stature and is impressive to all those who visit the property and have the opportunity to see this fine specimen of a tree. As you did state, this application was brought forward to the Natural Resource Committee. They did review it, and they did recommend, along with staff, that the City Commission accept and approve the nomination for a Heritage Tree nomination on the Ainsworth House property. The property owners are here tonight if they'd like to come up and speak, or if you have any questions for them, or if you have any questions for me, be happy to answer them.
I'm going to ask a general question at this point. People can nominate a tree within their property to be on this register.
Correct.
Is there a cost associated with this?
No, there is not.
Okay, very good.
There are some easements that need to occur that we'll follow up with. We'll also be preparing a plaque for the property, but we will be working with the property owner to get those accomplished.
Well, you might give me this next year. You may have me coming before you.
Wonderful.
Do I hear a vote?
I
Motion.
move to approve.
Well, we got to do this other thing. Okay.
Where do we have to go?
Okay, quick, push it before Rocky does. Push
Oh,
them.
oh,
You gotta. Oh, Kathy
And
Roth
state the
moves.
motion for
Rocky
the
Smith second. This is going to be a contest, you know.
I missed it. What did I do?
And with that, we'll go to the actual vote piece. And here they come.
Very quick. Oh, you can do this now.
I can do this now.
All right.
Kathy, I will.
And again, it's a unanimous vote for the designating this tree at the Ainsworth House, La Ponderosa, as a heritage tree.
Very nice.
Congratulations, and thank you for
Thank
coming
you,
forward.
Yay! Love it.
They were the first out of the box on this one, were they?
They were.
Very good. Now we've got the second out of the box.
Correct.
The nomination tree for Clyde Mound House, 916 Center Street.
Correct. Evening once again. The property owner, Ms. Gehring at 916 Center Street, has nominated the large Oregon white oak on the historic
Wow.
Clyde Mount House property for heritage tree designation. The house on this lot was the home of Mrs. Clyde Mount. Clyde Mount was one of provided much of the medical care for Oregon City and the county, and because of its size, shape, structure, and beauty, this Oregon white oak should be designated as a heritage tree. We also looked at a copy of the 1982 historical inventory, which specifically noted this large oak tree as a noteworthy landscape feature on the property. The tree is in good condition with a diameter of approximately 38 inches at breast height, is approximately 50 feet tall, and has a canopy spread of approximately 87 feet. And a picture of the specimen tree is included on the dais. Once again, this was also brought before the Natural Resources Committee. They reviewed the application against the criteria, and along with staff, have recommended approval of our second heritage tree.
I know it's difficult without doing probably a core stamp, but do we have any rough idea of how old the tree is?
I do not have that
Okay.
with me. I'm sorry. Cut it down and check. Nice.
Okay, with that, are you in your position? We'll take. Do I hear a motion?
Move to approve.
Betty's making a race here, and
Oh!
you can't.
I move to approve.
But Betty succeeded in seconding. With that, we'll take the vote, and I got to get back to my regular screen. And I have voted, yes. And again, a unanimous vote for this designation of this tree on our.
That's great.
This is something that has been discussed for a great long time, and I'm glad we've got the process out that this enables us to proceed. We have now before us a second reading of the ordinance number 12-1004, amending Chapter 9.24 of the Oregon City Municipal Code relating to carrying or discharging firearms. This has been a long discussion point as we went forward, and I'm afraid I forgot our attorney's name, but she's a lot more attractive than Ann Sullivan. And would you want to introduce yourself?
And or Bill.
This is Jennifer Brager, the city attorney for this evening, and also helping in the background on all sorts of Oregon City problems and accomplishments.
Well, welcome to Ed's seat.
Thank you.
Now, we've had this before us in various forms, but I think we finally agreed to one on the first reading. Do we need any further discussion on the ordinance? I don't think we do.
No.
And I'm just checking to see if anyone wants to discuss it, and nobody's here to discuss it. With that, do I hear a motion for the second reading and final adoption?
Yes. Move to approve.
Oh, yes, we got to get on
Carol
that
did
thing.
it.
Jeez. Carol Pauley has made the motion, the seconder is Betty Mum. Sometimes in our rush to do this, the phraseology of the motion is rather important. And so
Yes.
I think rather than simply push for a motion, we need to state that it is a second reading and it is for the final adoption. And so, and that the screen doesn't indicate how that goes. So we need, I think we have to have a vocal motion. We did have them.
That's not any different than it was before.
Yeah.
You
So
press the button, but then make the
so-
statement too.
I think we should be making the motion before we press the button.
I think it's a good idea.
I think we need to vocalize it, then press it, and
Okay?
Yeah.
Whatever
it
you want.
just, it's because this is a mess, like, the way we're doing it.
Yeah. In any case, I stated what the motion should be, and I presume that's the motion that Commissioner Pauley put forward. And with that, can we have the second reading, please?
This is the second reading by title only, ordinance number 12-1004, an ordinance of the City of Oregon City amending Chapter 9.24 of the Oregon City Municipal Code relating to carrying or discharge of weapons.
Very good, and now we get to take the vote. And it's unanimous vote again. Thank you very much. You're having it easy tonight, aren't you?
In favor.
Yes, unanimous vote in favor.
Yes, in favor. My apologies. With that, we'll be presented here with a personal service agreement, FCS Group, water rate study, and water system development charge methodology update. Ms. Crushauer.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. As you know, we completed our water master plan last year and adopted it in February. And so, as you know, we completed our water master plan last year and adopted it in February. And we are embarking on a review of our water rates so that we can examine the water rate rollback situation that's coming up on in 2014. We have, as the next step, then asked FCSG, which is Financial Consultants Group, to prepare a scope of work and a schedule and fee estimate to complete a rate study and to also, at the same time, update our system development charges. There's some economy of scale when you do both at the same time. And they gave us a proposal. And the fee was $56,290, which requires commission approval. I wanted to mention, though, that I asked them to add a couple more public meetings and also to coordinate with finishing in September, which is consistent with the schedule I outlined for you. Was it your last work session?
Yeah.
Regarding how to proceed with examining the water rate scenarios in Oregon City. And so the new amount is, oh, Nancy, I guess I have, wait, here it is. The new amount, I've gotten several different versions of this, so I apologize for any confusion. The new amount is $60,780, and that would be split equally between being paid for with water rates and system development charges. And that includes extra meetings, which I think we may not need them, but I really think that it's important to schedule and have plenty of time and money budgeted for meetings to discuss the whole topic, both topics.
Do these kinds of agreements go through the regular public bidding process?
This one did not. We have we followed the Oregon statutes on this, and as a matter of fact, I have an email from the city attorney's office on that. As you may recall, FCS Group did our transportation maintenance utility fee, and they also updated our transportation system development charge methodology. They have a very, very good reputation throughout the state and Washington, and I think they did a very, very good job on our those projects. So I highly recommend that we use them for this. The statutes allow us to directly appoint, the statutes combined with our code allow us to directly appoint consultants in this particular situation at this price range and them being financial consultants.
And I'm sorry, what was the bid again?
The fee estimate is $60,780.
$708. Okay. And this motion should specify the group and the amount, is that correct?
Yes, the motion is drafted on your recommended action on the staff report.
Very good. And does somebody want to read that before
And I guess I would
jumps the gun?
mention, though, we need to change the number to 60,780.
780.
Yes.
60,700.
I move to authorize the city manager to execute the personal services agreement with FCS Group to complete the water rate study and water system development charge methodology update for an estimated fee of, which is actually $60,780.
You are permitted to push the motion button.
Second.
That was an unauthorized push by Commissioner Roth on Mr. Smith's monitor. Commissioner Mumm, were you authorized to push the button?
I was.
You have the second. Very
Yes,
good.
yes.
With that, could we have the vote, please?
I'm not really fast on my screen.
This is really kind of fun,
Yes,
isn't it?
Rocky, you need to put the wall up there.
Just stay over there.
Just stay over there. Talk to the wall.
Again, it is a unanimous vote in favor of the FCS Group. With that, we're moving right along today. This is kind of rare. We have our consent agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda, please? And
Move to approve.
move to approve from.
And second.
Second from Mr. Commissioner Smith. He is authorized. And with that, we'll go ahead and take the vote. And again, a unanimous vote. We'll enter into communications at this time with the city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I'm going to ask Nancy Crusher to start off. She's got, it looks like, 3 items under my reports tonight. First, on the downtown construction, we have a little video to show you, and then also a report on the Main Street construction near the elevator, and on the upcoming tree removal and a median mid-block on Malala Avenue near Barkley Hills.
Maybe I'll do the update on the construction first. Are you ready to go? Okay, update on the construction first.
You want me to put it right here, Nancy?
In the front.
Okay. Thank you. If anybody has taken the elevator in the last week and a half, 2 weeks, you find at the bottom gravel.
Uh-huh.
I had to go up the sidewalk, go back down the sidewalk in order to get to the elevator.
Yes, yes.
And where are the trash cans?
They're moved out of the way for now. They are in the way. They were in the way. So, oh, thank you. Thanks. Anyway, so this area right here is torn up. We went ahead and let them tear the whole thing up because we are waiting for that perfect window for pouring concrete, and that intersection will then be closed for about 8 days while they do 2 phases of concrete pouring, and we have a detour route set up which will turn 6th Street into I guess we'll call that riverbound direction, where for the last, I don't know how many years, it's been bluff-bound traffic. But that way, anybody turning from McLaughlin Boulevard to go this way, which they're used to doing, will be detoured at 6th Street, and then they can go this way, the bridge is closed, so that's not a problem, and get on their merry way. We've been keeping the elevator will stay open, and it's just not very friendly at the bottom. But the contractor's been trying really hard to make sure there's an access demarcated for people to use. And Now, once we are finished with this new intersection here, which will be a concrete intersection that'll be far more pedestrian friendly than the previous asphalt one, we are going to leave, railroad will become two-directional. This is the second phase of our circulation change for the downtown. The first one, we just did Main Street. And then railroad will become two-way. 6th Street will remain riverbound direction as per the detour, so that hopefully people won't get terribly confused. And then 7th Street, well, there it is. 7th Street is going to become two-way. So once the bridge opens, if you're coming off the bridge, you can go straight on 7th Street and turn left on Railroad, go right on Railroad, do whatever you want to do. So that is the permanent changes. And because all of this can be confusing, we asked our folks down at Funnel Box to, as you remember the video we had done for the two-way on Main Street, and we prepared this, and you may have already seen it, but we're just trying to get the word out, and I think they did a really great job on.
In November of 2011, two-way traffic flow was restored to downtown Oregon City as the first part of a $2.5 million streetscape enhancement project that will ultimately include new street lighting, sidewalks, and ADA-accessible crosswalks. It's time to look both ways on Main Street. Another change is being made to traffic patterns in order to make downtown a better place to live, work, and visit. 7th Street between the Arch Bridge and the Municipal Elevator will now carry traffic in both directions.
I love the way they used our logo for the municipal elevator there.
It's also been restored to accommodate better traffic flow downtown.
It will be a two-way stop at 7th and Railroad.
This is a driver in a circulation loop that creates the highest probability of finding an on-street parking spot. Here's a quick recap of the changes. 7th Street now carries two-way traffic. So does Railroad Ave, but only between 7th and 6th Street. Traffic flow on 6th Street has now reversed direction.
They also used our logo for the bridge and the courthouse, which was cool.
Yeah, that was very good.
We should have moved.
Nancy, is there going to be parking on 7th?
Yes.
Okay.
There will be parking on both sides of 7. Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Both sides of 7 so will have parallel parking.
I'm going to ask a foolish question. Is the possibility of turning left off the bridge onto Main Street a dead horse at this point?
At this point, it is, but I continue to tell ODOT that we may want to revisit that in the future because depending on how it operates, it may not be quite as fearful as they thought in terms of people not following a rule. If we had a part-time left turn restriction there, we'd need it for certain times of the day so that traffic doesn't back up too far into Westland. However, I think there's a lot of times of the day that you can make a left turn off the bridge on Main Street without blocking anybody. And so, but they are not ready to talk about it until we've opened up the traffic signal, the bridge is open, we probably waited for a while to get all the traffic back on, and then the city can definitely take another proposal to them if we feel like it's appropriate.
So I want to encourage you to flog the dead horse. That's good.
Or keep the horse alive.
Well,
I'm still flinching a little bit. It doesn't show this on the map, but it does. It looks like it shows it on the video. Railroad is going to then be two-way all the way to McLaughlin Boulevard.
No, it'll only be
That's what
two-way
it shows
for
on
that
the
one
video.
block.
Yeah, the video shows that.
And that really concerns me.
No, we
On
don't
the
want
video, it shows cars still going through 6th Street all the way to McLaughlin. If you go back,
Let's look at it.
yeah, look at it.
Replay.
we can replay it.
Yeah.
In November of 2011, two-way traffic flow was
I lost it
restored
up
to
Yeah, watch the cars, not the.
$5 million
Yeah.
streetscape enhancement project that will
Okay, not
ultimately
there.
include new street lighting, sidewalks, and ADA-accessible crosswalks. It's time to look both ways on Main Street. Another change is being made to traffic patterns in order to make downtown a better place to live, work, and visit.
It's an orange car.
Well, what's
There's an orange car.
See, he keeps going
Orange
straight.
car
that's
went all the way
okay.
down.
That's okay. That's okay.
7th and 6th
That's correct.
There's a pink car. See, those are coming from. So
Yeah.
see what.
Yeah, they're going to 7. They're
No, but those are no.
They're
I'm
coming
talking
off
about down here.
Yeah.
Oh, they're
All the way to
Great
99.
catch. Great catch. Because we don't
Oh,
want
I see what
people
you're
going.
talking about.
So it's, we'll
On
get that
rail.
orange car redirected. Orange and pink.
And one of the things that I know this intersection a lot because I take people down there on tours, and that intersection where you're down there by that tunnel, when you use that pedestrian tunnel,
That's hard.
cars come around there already so fast and make that turn wide, even
Yeah.
from McLaughlin on to Railroad, and I can't imagine cars coming out of there too.
Yeah.
So
Great
that's,
catch.
but-
So much. Thank you very much. That's awesome.
Nancy, while he's talking about there, is there a way we could have a flashing light or something? Because I went through that yesterday.
It's
I thought,
horrifying.
I'm going to get killed crossing the street here.
Where?
When they're coming out of a tunnel and you're coming out of the pedestrian
I
tunnel,
think there's a crosswalk
And
right
you-
there, but
there's a
people
crosswalk.
just don't even.
but you try to cross railroad,
What kind of a flashing light?
I don't know, like you got down on the railroad track or whatever, that
Pedestrian light?
yeah, that you could just push and let people know they're in the tunnel, that there's people crossing the street.
I don't know how you would do
That's
it.
a ODOT question.
Okay.
Is there right of way?
But it is very dangerous.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
How are the businesses down there feeling about this? Nancy?
Businesses doing?
Yeah.
Oh, they're, I don't know what their bottom lines are doing, but our contractor has been working very, very hard to accommodate things that are happening in their businesses, trying to make sure they've got pathways to their doors, signage, et cetera. So we've had a couple complaints, but our contractor and our project team is just saying, talk to us. Because when we've gotten complaints, it's because we didn't know that something was going to happen downtown. And regarding traffic flow downtown, I heard from David Wimmer that last Friday night, things were just bustling downtown, that the restaurants were doing a great business. So, that's all the information I have. But I'm sure it's having construction, as you know, Commissioner Polly, having construction up and down your frontage is always difficult. And we really sympathize.
I had a really good exchange with the contractor this morning, or one of their employees, and the elevator lady gave me some trash to take out, and that's why I was, and there were no trash cans, so I'm walking around town with this trash. And the contractor's guy took it from me. He says, I got a bucket over here, I'll take care of it for you.
Good.
So that was very
Yeah.
nice of them.
The other thing you might want to know is we're going to be refinishing most of the Main Street trash cans. They're really worn out, and the black ones are just rusted. And we've found that rather than replacing them, we can actually take them back to the guys that manufacture them, get them refinished for like a third of what it costs to.
Great.
Maybe I think it's even less than that, like 25% of what we pay for a new one. Plus, we're reusing the product.
Nice. Very good.
So not all of them get the treatment, but and we're going to do it like 4 at a time. So there might be a few missing ones over the next 6-month period, just because of that too.
I'll just take a trash bag with me.
Yeah, I was have to carry it further.
One last question on the 7th Street elevator intersection. That I know you're waiting for weather, and it's not. We don't know for sure, but are we saying days, weeks?
We are waiting for weather, and then it'll be
But,
closed.
I mean, it could happen.
It should be closed for 8 days. It could happen. We'll have some notice. We'll probably have like a 3 or 4 day notice. We've been trying to, but they're watching the weather every day to see when we're going to have a gap, and it's not been very cooperative. But
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
thank you.
Oh, Nancy, did you have any other comments about the elevator construction? Is that,
No, that would conclude
that's all you
the
wanted to?
elevator.
And then
Yes.
also you had a report on some tree removal and a pedestrian median mid-block on Malala.
Yes, we have been working with the Transportation Advisory Committee and the Berkeley Hills neighborhood on a concern the neighborhood has about the intersection of Berkeley Hills Drive and Malala Avenue. And there are a number of factors there that they find difficult to deal with, one of which is that there's a pedestrian median that's very close to the intersection, and really the best thing to do at Berkeley Hills Drive is to turn north rather than, if you're coming out of Berkeley Hills, rather than trying to make a left turn. However, there are people that
that's what they want to do. And then there's a bus stop right there, and you've got pedestrians, and you've got people sometimes stopping for pedestrians, and it's kind of confusing in the sight distance. It meets our standards, but it's just enough confusing that we've taken a close look at the intersection. We had one of our consultants actually do a safety study of that area. Our Molalla Avenue corridor plan basically states that people wanting to come to, if they want to turn left out of Berkeley Hills Drive, they are encouraged to go to Hilda and use the traffic signal at Hilda because that's a safe and it's well timed. It's a very good signal, and but that doesn't. And they've received that well. I was really pleased that they put the message out and people are using Hilda more. Hilda's not a great street either. It's narrow. It doesn't have sidewalks, but it is linked to the good intersection at Holmes, Hilda, and Molalla. And then, but getting back to the pedestrian median, they really, really, really wanted us to take those 2 trees out. And I have received numerous complaints over the years about those trees.
Yes.
And as much as we would like to see our medians have trees in them, at this particular location, by the Chevron, by the grocery outlet, walking to the school, one of the schools will still be open, but we've thought, we concur that would be something the city can do, is take those 2 trees out. So they'll be coming down. We're not exactly sure. Our street division is putting that in their work plan, but I just wanted you to be aware that those trees will be coming down, and then we'll be replanting some very low maintenance ground cover.
Thank you. That's
Question.
Great. Question actually probably for the chief, but along the same line, because we all drive that way every single day, and the crosswalks. I know we've had some enforcement of the pedestrian crossings and stuff like that, and I think that was part of a grant. And I'm just wondering if we're going to be doing that again, or was that a temporary program that we were doing, and if there's more coming in this summer and possibly. Because I stop at every one of those now, all the time,
but a lot of people
and
don't.
people think I'm crazy. In fact, people wait on the side of the road and they stop and they're like, "Why are you stopping?" I'm like, "Because it's the law. Go across the street." So I don't know. It's been effective for me to keep track of it, and I think that's part of it because people don't even recognize. I mean, the trees are part of it, but people just don't know that those crosswalks are there, and that definitely has helped.
We have, the last 2 years, we have received grants to do overtime enforcement for pedestrian crossings. And we're anticipating those grants are going to be available again this year, and we will apply for them. Yes.
Good.
Absolutely.
Good. Thank you.
I also wanted to mention, and I don't want to get too long here, but just because that topic came up, when I was at the APWA conference last week, I went to a special presentation on the rectangular rapid flashing beacons, which you can use cautiously at pedestrian crossings. And I was convinced that this is an application that we should look at for certain locations in Oregon City. Certainly not every pedestrian crosswalk is because they're not cheap. But I think we can. We're going to be talking to some specialists in that area where they'll do a simple traffic study to see if this is a good application for it. And then the other thing is there's some better signage. We put in a new pedestrian crosswalk on Leland, right near the street that's just the first one practically when you're going south on Leland Road from Warner Milne. And we just added a simple rider sign that says, Oregon state law requires that you step in bright green, I think, or bright yellow, whatever color it is. But that just kind of is an extra educational feature, and it kind of does like, oh, it is against the law. So we're also looking at that as using that as a more standard signage for many of our pedestrian crossings as well. So between those two things, we're hoping to beef up public awareness and safety, and I'm going to be working with the police department on those items.
Great, cool.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mayor, just a couple more things. So we're on the topic of trees. While we are, I wanted to mention that some of you may have seen that someone, and we're not. We just know it wasn't us. We're not sure if it was PG or somebody that topped some of the smaller pear trees that are down growing on the street where the midweek growers or farmers market occurs. And I was down there at the last market, and I was talking to the director, Jackie Hammond Williams, about the possibility of getting some larger shade trees somewhere, and we want to make sure that they don't encounter the same overhead impediments that the smaller scale trees do, but those don't provide a canopy or any potential shade long-term for market visitors and vendors. And so I went down there the next day after talking to Jackie, and I haven't even been able to get back to her yet to confirm this is going to happen. But I went down there with John Lewis and with Nancy, and we've identified 2 spots down there where we think we can plant a 5-inch caliper, 20-inch tall oak tree, 2 of them, which would allow us to have a canopy sooner rather than later, and I think Jackie's going to be ecstatic with that. And so we're looking at those 2 sites, and they have to do the underground locates and the other work, but we're really working hard to try to get that done this spring. So,
Great.
Were there any questions about that before I move on?
One more general question about street trees. There's been this tendency, and I don't know if it's code or not, to plant these trees that tend to be columnar in nature, grow straight up, and if they grow under the utility wires and so forth, then you start cutting up, and they look pretty bad. And I'm not sure why it is that we don't have trees that actually spread out, and when you cut out those branches, it doesn't impact them so much.
I think what we're going to be doing is working with our Natural Resources Committee. As you know, we don't have an urban forester, but that's certainly on my radar, and hopefully the commission's at some future date. But once we develop a canopy, we also have to develop the understory, which many times the urgent solution to tree problems is to plant smaller scale street trees like these pears and different things, but they don't ultimately provide that canopy. So it's all about location.
Yeah.
And our staff in the last 2 years, I can't testify about what happened before that, but I can tell you in the last 2 years we've been really actively working. We've got about 3 or 4 departments working together trying to find places on our GIS system where we don't have overhead or side impediments, where we can plant trees that will mature into the kind of things that you saw tonight on your heritage designation, because that's what we really need to restore that canopy. And then where we have to, we'll use specialized plantings to try to deal with the impediments, and there are many.
Just for point of information, if you plant a tree that's going to spread out, your roots are going to spread out more surface.
You're right.
If you plant it vertically, they're going to go down. So that's one of the impediments.
So we have to look above ground, below ground, overhead. We have to look at all the buildings and so forth. But that place I'm talking about, by the farmers market, there is a little space there where there are no overhead or side impediments. Now we haven't looked underground yet, but from what we can tell, there's a good chance that we'll be able to plant those 2 large oak trees there. And I say large, 5 inches, 20 feet tall. But 10 years from now, we'll have real trees there, and they'll have real shade. Yeah.
Can I ask another tree question? There's a big old tree that I would have thought would have been a heritage nomination at the. It's either on Ogden, top of Waterboard Park. There's this turnaround around it.
Oh, yeah.
It's
That
gone.
one fell over.
It's
What?
gone. It fell over.
Yeah, it came down in a windstorm one night.
Oh, jeez.
Is that the one we sent a photograph
That
out?
was one in the center of the street.
I believe so.
We
Yes.
sent a photograph of that. Did you? It was a giant tree.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
an amazing
I mean,
tree.
it was
I
really
didn't realize
something.
that was the one. Okay.
And that's why, that's another, every
Trees.
time, trees,
We've
urban
lost
forestry
a
is
lot.
like, in a way, it's like farming. Every time something gets harvested by either natural causes or some other cause, you kind of have to plant a couple in its place to keep the forest going. And so we're investing in that. And the commission has been supportive. In the last 2 years, we've put over $50,000 a year in additional funding for urban forestry resources like these tree plantings. So you're going to start to see those. We're working toward what I hope will ultimately be a video presentation that shows on our GIS mapping system where these places were that have been identified by our staff and where the plantings are, because all the trees are going to be logged into the GIS system as part of our urban infrastructure. So if we ever have an issue with a water line or sewer line, the trees will actually be an overlay on the map. So we hope to have that presentation available for you a little bit later this year. And then lastly, I want to thank all of you and the community members who participated in our finance director recruitment last week. You just got a very snapshot look at the candidates. I had a report this thick, a written report on each and every one of them, which took a lot of time to go over, and then I did some additional investigation after that. We looked at all the comment cards. We had panelists that included citizens and bankers and business people and finance experts from other cities. as well as our executive team. And I've just this evening reached a conclusion that I'm going to appoint Wyatt Parno from the City of Gresham. So Wyatt will be joining us soon. He's the former finance director for the City of Wood Village, and he's currently the finance manager with the City of Gresham. Has almost 20 years of experience working in the field. He's a graduate of PSU and a licensed certified public accountant. His first day on the job with us will be on or about June 20th. And one of the great things about David is he's such a steward for his town, his hometown, that he's really given me. I've never had this much notice, frankly, when I was going to have to replace someone that's this critical in the organization. So for that kind of notice, I appreciate it. But also, David, as the way we've got this arranged is this will give Mr. Parno about a week, a little over a week with David to help on the transition, because David's been there a long time, and the longer someone's been in a position, usually the harder the transition can be. So they will have some overlap. A little over a week of overlap to share, and then David will also be available for part-time, I hope, if we can get him off the fishing boat long enough. And
we have your cell phone number, don't we, David?
So it's been exciting, and it was very tough too, because we actually ended up with two very good candidates that really would have served us well either way. And I suppose that's really a testament that the recruiter was a little bit. I think he chuckled a little bit at the quandary, because, this is what we hired him for, is to give us the best possible candidates so that at the end of the day, we're really confused about who to choose. And he did his job very well, and I was perplexed for several days. And finally, really, it was talking to the city manager in Gresham and some other details that I won't go into, but I think we're really going to be pleased, and I think Wyatt's going to be a big addition to our staff, and I'm looking forward to him coming.
Great.
So,
Thank you.
and that's all I have this evening.
City manager's report. I think I'm going to ask one of your staff to introduce the report. Mr. Archer, would you like to talk about the Arbor Day activities of the city?
Certainly. Be glad to do that. This past Friday, we had a really neat Arbor Day tree planting event. Actually, we had an event at Chapin Park, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But then we also had, without much fanfare or people helping us, we just planted a number of trees at other sites, and I sent out a list of those planting sites and the numbers of trees to the commission in a couple of different reports, I believe. But specifically at Chapin Park, we had a group of about 130 school kids, elementary school kids from Mount Pleasant. Actually, they walked over from the school, and so there was this line of about a half a mile long, a single file procession of kids coming, and looked like the line was never going to end. But about 130 kids came and helped us plant 17 brand new trees all around Chapin Park. Our honorable mayor did gave the kids some words of wisdom about how to plant trees and why they're good, and a number of just kind of things.
I asked them why we plant trees and why they are good.
Well, the kids gave you words of wisdom then, and actually they were quite good. And
yeah. They forgot to mention though you use it for paper and lumber as well. Not those trees.
My favorite part was when you were asking about deciduous trees, and the one child said, "I'm only in second grade. How do you expect me to know that word?"
Well, it wasn't my fault. Peter Holder, who's our staff liaison with the Natural Resource Committee, gave the real presentation on the planting of the trees and so forth, and he mentioned deciduous trees, and I thought, well, maybe they didn't know what they were, so I asked them, and so they were giving me specific trees, and some of them were correct and some of them were not, and I thought maybe I could elicit what the difference was, and then that second grade.
That was great.
Probably 53.
That was so funny. But anyway, yeah. So and we had Tony Conkle and I and Larry Potter. I need to give credit to him. He was there and helping out, and so it just turned out great. It was a wonderful event, and I think, as you know, Commission, that goes towards we have to do an Arbor Day related event for our Tree City USA certification that we're in the process of applying for and should, I think, be receiving word on that somewhat in the near future, but expect that we'll have no problem with that. So that was related to that, as well as it was just a really great event. And also, I did receive some feedback from the school that the kids and the teachers that were involved really enjoyed the event. So thank you.
Yeah,
That's great.
thank you. I wanted to mention, of course, that was Mount Pleasant School, and it's maybe one of their first activity, or last activities they have as a school. I wanted to mention that there were several other staff members there, and it was great. Scott was there, and I mentioned Peter Walter. Tony Conkle was also there, along with Larry Potter. And did I miss somebody?
I think that covered it.
Katie Riggs came
Oh,
out.
yeah, Katie Riggs, that's right. Katie
Came-
Riggs
and
came out, that's
gave
right.
you the great photos that we had.
Photographer
Yeah.
extraordinaire.
And it was a great event.
We were able to give all of the children a seedling, and
That's right.
nice.
I actually, I think it was getting off the elevator, a woman came up to me and said, well, my grandchild was at that event, and they brought the tree over to the grandparents' house and planted at the grandparents' house that very day. So that's good.
Fun.
Anyway, it was a great event. I meant to bring it, but those trees were donated by a couple of nurseries in Canby. Do you happen to recall those nurseries?
Not off the top of my head. I don't have the names.
I'll try to remember to bring it in next time, because there was a substantial number of trees. It wasn't only at that site, was it?
No, we did several sites, and it wasn't all donated. Some of it was purchased through our budget that goes towards our improving our tree habitat and so forth. But I know that the seedlings were definitely donated.
And that's what I was
Tony,
talking about.
Do you remember who donated those?
Willamette Seedling Nursery down in Canby, and let me see if I can find the other one real quick. But two nurseries down in Canby that donated all those seedlings, which was very generous.
Because when you get, there were a substantial number of Douglas firs that was even at our site.
They gave us close to 200 to use. Yeah,
so that was substantial. Did somebody have a comment about Arbor Day?
Question.
Yeah.
Some trees went to. There was some at Clackamas Park, or has that been done already too?
Right.
Or how many?
Believe about 14.
Wow.
Yeah, and those were actually planted mostly on the what we call the overflow parking lot across the street from Clackamas.
Oh, really?
The lot there. So they're kind of along the frontage to offer some tree canopy there.
Very nice. That was
Kind of a border around that. That's
Very cool.
a pretty barren spot. So. Yeah.
That's great.
More than pretty, Baron.
Another event I was at, it made me a little late to where we were talking to the people that had been shortlisted to fill the budget directors, but I knew Cormont Assisted Living gives a Citizen of the Year award, and I always assumed it was a person that volunteered there at their facility, and it is not. It is intended to be a Citizen of the Year award for somebody in the region. They asked me to present the award. Person Rick Lawrence, who had the unenviable task of serving this year on the school budget committee. I'm sure that was a difficult thing. He's also been involved in many school activities, including at the Beaver Creek School, and so I gave that award there. And I think it's kind of nice when we have another institution that looks at the community and makes a decision in terms of who they feel ought to be recognized. And they do this on an annual basis, and I made the assumption that it was somebody that specifically volunteered at the facility, but that is not the case. And I wanted to announce that.
Mayor, if I may, real quick, just interrupt.
Yeah.
It was IFA Nurseries out of Canby and Willamette Seedling Nursery out of Canby.
Yeah,
Both donated.
those were donations of those Doug firs, and all the kids took some.
Yes, they
Well,
did.
at least one.
Yep.
I took a few too, but anyway.
Not from kids, though.
No. They were left over. I got some appointments to announce here. I am appointing, Fred Wallace to the Transportation Advisory Committee as a neighborhood association member. He's from the McLaughlin Neighborhood Association for a term from today's date until December 31, 2014. He's filling a vacancy. I appointed Bob LaSalle to the Transportation Advisory Committee for a term made today's date to December 13th, 2013. That's another vacated position. Before I go on to the next announcement, we still have one position open on the Transportation Advisory Committee, a person who's vacated that position, and it is a seat that goes to the end of this year. So these were seats that were vacated early. I appointed then Leslie Woods to the Metro Enhancement Committee from this date to December 31st, 2013. We had to make that appointment because it was Carol Pauly's fault. She became the city commissioner, who automatically has a seat on the Metro Enhancement Committee, and that left her seat then, the citizen seat, vacant, and we've been able to fill that. As far as I know, and I checked with Nancy Ide, we only have the one seat on the Transportation Advisory Committee to fill. All our other advisory committee seats are filled.
Great, wonderful.
Nancy, did I forget anything that you know of? No, I didn't forget anything. Did anybody did I forget anything? So, okay, do other commissioners have announcements?
I do.
Okay, I heard Commissioner Smith first.
Yeah, but Betty Mum is on the floor.
You're on the wrong agenda item. You're on the wrong agenda item.
I'm on the wrong agenda item
Get on the floor and then hit it.
Okay, Rocky gets to go first.
Yes, he does.
All right. Just wanted to make a couple announcements. We're 2 weeks and a little bit to the Pioneer Family Festival. And Pioneer Family Festival is May 18th through the 20th. Clackamas Park, carnival rides. Hopefully, the park is open, and hopefully the park is not underwater. But lots of fun events coming up, the 18th through the 20th, and the Teddy Bear Parade on May 19th. And we're still accepting vendors for the festival, and any information that you might need for the festival is at pioneerfamilyfestival.com, or the Teddy Bear Parade, which is octeddybearparade.com, and that is, like I said, on May 19th, the morning of May 19th, 10:30 Main Street, and we're still looking for floats for that. And people can sign up to participate in the parade right up until parade day. So that's it.
Thank you. Commissioner Mum.
Okay, so I did send out the presentation that was made at the last C4 meeting. I hope you guys all had a chance to look at it. Wanted your input because tomorrow is the next C4 meeting. What are your thoughts? Does staff have any comments?
Yes, we couldn't get a meeting together with all of our staff before your date tomorrow, but I do have some comments, and I'll tell you those offline if it's okay with you. There are a couple there that concern me, and a couple I think that are pretty good, and they may coincidentally be the same ones that our Public Works Director believes are cogent as well.
Do you want to take a moment, since they're on the agenda, it's a public meeting, just to indicate what those concerns are slightly?
I don't have the document in front of me, so I didn't know it was going to be discussed.
That's fine.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay,
I just want to hear if any of the other commissioners.
We might want to have that as a report then at the next meeting.
Yes.
Because some of these things ultimately fill into decisions that are made at the metro level. And,
right.
And we do have a meeting which Commissioner Mum and I will be attending to talk about issues that will be metro issues as well. So, and then I have Commissioner Roth.
Okay, I've got three things here. May 10th at 6 o'clock, Singer Hill. Rocky and I are going to be doing conversations with the commissioners. And then the next one will be in July and then September. So I'm anticipating Betty and Doug being at those.
Absolutely. What time is that? 7?
6.
6? Okay.
May 19th, there's going to be a presentation at the Armory on the geology, flora, and fauna of Waterboard Park. And in conjunction with that, every Saturday at 10 o'clock, a lot of us go to Waterboard Park to clean ivy. So anybody is welcome to join us at any time and just bring some clippers. And
you clean the ivy?
We clean the ivy, yes. I actually wash it.
You wash it in water.
That's really nice of you.
Actually, I kill the ivy.
Commissioner Pauly, and then there's something I should have mentioned.
Oh, wait, wasn't there 3 that you had?
No.
That was it. That was it? 2 of them went together.
Oh, I see.
You're right.
Okay.
All right. Last meeting, I said I was going to put together a schedule of neighborhood association meetings and sign-ups of commissioners that might intend to go to those meetings, and I did it. So you can pass that
great.
down. Then when it gets filled up, I'll make copies, so everybody has a copy, just to be more involved and present and available to people.
Very good.
And I also went to Gaffney Lane Neighborhood Association meeting, and I'm still learning names, Tony. So who was your community development rep that was there that talked about the trees? And the
Pete Walter.
Pete Walter, yes. And it was very informative, and we talked about some of the trees and the tree list and different issues about that. So we got public feedback on that. That was very good. And the only other thing is Craig and I did bingo for Phyllis Talking Phil Hart this weekend, and it was a great success. I think they earned a lot of money, and Craig called, and he's so good at that, and I did the cooking, and we did our thing. And
Oh, it's so sad to miss that. I always enjoy that.
I think it was a record turnout.
Wonderful.
So it was great to see them do good.
That's great.
Go ahead.
Carol, can you send this just to us email? That way we can fill it out and
Sure.
send it back. Because
Yeah, more
I
time.
don't want to look through my calendar right now.
Okay.
But I do want to sign up
Thank
for
you.
some of this.
Okay.
Yeah.
A couple things. We had the first city cleanup in conjunction with Solve, and one of the sites the site I was involved in was the apartment complex there at 213 and Beaver Creek, and a cleanup activity. That was a site that was selected by the Greater Oregon City Watershed Council, and we had a great turnout from the junior ROTC, which works with us on projects. We also had people from the apartments that actually came down and assisted us in the cleanup, and we had a couple of the Metro open space staff were also there. I did want to recall we had the chair of the Greater Oregon City Watershed Council announce the trolley tour they're going to make of the broad watershed areas that are covered, which is Beaver Creek and Abernethy are the major ones. On Saturday, it appears that they're going to have a full bus, so it's been rather successful. So if you didn't sign up, you can turn up about I think about 12:15 on Saturday and see if there's a seat available. But it's been a very successful program, and we've been able to partner with the city on this particular trip because we will be looking at stormwater features the city has as part of that particular process, and Ms. Crushauer felt that was an educational piece, and as such, they were the city put together a map that shows the watershed and also the tour route. And I wanted to thank your staff very much because it did a very, very good job on that. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate them doing a tour that can help educate people about our watershed and stormwater issues.
Yep.
That's great.
And Mayor, along those same lines, we, I think it went out today, our letter of support for a grant for the Oregon City Watershed, the Greater
But
Watershed
then I'll
Council.
bring it up now because we have to review that proposal.
Right. So in the time since I gave my report, I have checked my email, and I have one bit of news yet to report, and that is I really want to congratulate our Public Works employees, Nancy Crusher, John Lewis, and particularly Michael Pushke. The departments recently switched their cell phone coverage because, I think in part because of service, we were having a lot of drop calls and things like that. And I don't know how many of you have ever experienced that and then gone in and checked your contract and it wasn't up yet, but when it finally was, you made a change and actually saved money. But somehow or another, our employees have managed to do that. So in changing the provider, we are going to save $10,000 a year every year.
Nice.
Excellent.
We'd love to save money.
Yeah.
Michael
Good
did all
stuff.
the work.
Anything else for the good of the order? With that?
Oh, do we have an
Executive session?
We have, yes, we are, excuse me. I got to go get that number. We are going into an executive session with respect to, okay. pursuant to ORS 192.6602H to consult with counsel concerning the legal rights and duties of a public body with regard to current